William Osula coming on the football pitch and snatching all 3 points for Newcastle United. Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another video. And yes, Newcastle United have just beaten Fulham at home, something they didn't do last season, to snatch all 3 points. Now, it was a difficult game to watch. I'm not going to even lie about it. There is going to be some good points in this video, but there's also going to be some bads because I need to be honest with what I've seen. Was it the best performance from Newcastle United? Probably not. Was it the best performance from Fulham? Actually thought they played quite well despite them coming at St. James's Park. They didn't just come back and defend. So we're going to be breaking it all down. We'll be talking about the first half, second half, the team performances, and then looking at some individual performances. And I'm going to tell you my thoughts, why I thought we didn't really look on it today. But I don't think people realise the importance of that victory. Sometimes when you're not at your best, you've got to find a way. Newcastle United found a way today. I should be all smiley and happy, and of course I am. But on a different day, we lose that game of football. But I don't even want to worry about that because today was all about 3 points. We got 3 points, something we haven't done all season after a Champions League game. We've now made it 4 wins, 1 defeat in our last 5 games. We haven't won 3 games on a row since April. So let's break down this game because there's plenty to unpack. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, as Gattuso once said. And I want to begin by talking about the first half. By the way, do you like me new little branding at the top there, having the scoreline with the teams? I think it looks pretty cool. However, how did we snatch 3 points out of that game? And we did, and I'm happy for it. But I thought Fulham started really well, energetic. They didn't just come back and sit. It took us 4 or 5 minutes to even get a hold of the ball or even to get into Fulham's half. But one thing I noticed in the first couple of minutes, Anthony Gordon getting at Teddy and getting him booked. And I thought to myself, that's our outlet. We should have been given the ball to Anthony Gordon quickly at every opportunity so he could create one-on-one situations against Teddy because he got booked in the first couple of minutes. That was our chance to get at Fulham, but we didn't really do that. However, even though it was Fulham that were knocking the ball around a bit better, it was us that created the first opening. Nick Valdemara hit the post, and I was thinking in my head at that time, if that goes in, that's a different game because it settles the nerves, brings confidence and belief that we can go on and win this game. So I thought, that's chance number 1. Let's not miss chance number 2. And in the 18th minute, Calvert Bassey gifted us an opportunity and Jacob Murphy capitalised. And I thought this should undoubtedly raise confidence, raise our belief that we can go on and just score another, get a third, get a 4th, just like we did at Benfica. But in fact, it was the absolute opposite. Even after we scored, we still looked a bit sloppy in possession. But again, that third chance came to us. Jacob Murphy getting through on goal once again and missing a great opportunity. So we hit the post, we scored, missed good opportunities. Even though we weren't at our best, we could have scored a few goals in that first half, but take nothing away from Fulham. I actually think Fulham are a very, very good footballing side, and I'm going to give them a lot of credit throughout this video. But in that first half, I thought we looked okay, nothing special. I've seen us play worse, but I've certainly seen us play better. I thought our shape looked good out of possession, but our biggest downfall was in possession. We're sloppy, taking an extra touch, not having any ball appreciation, making the incorrect decision, and just playing everything in front of Fulham. So everything was easy for them to defend. The few opportunities that would start running in behind, we were causing Fulham problems. So I don't understand why we didn't continue doing that. And I actually think it was half to do with our team selection. In my preview, I spoke about the importance of starting Jacob Ramsey, and I've got a few pictures later on in the video that I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. But I thought the dynamics of the team wasn't really clicking. We weren't supporting each other in possession. Out of possession, we were pressing as individuals, not a unit. And Fulham were just knocking the ball around us so comfortably throughout that 90 minutes. Fulham had a higher XG, more shots, more possession, more passes completed. And I genuinely thought we made it all too easy for Fulham today. But it's hard to criticise when you win the game. I'm trying not to criticise so much, but I've got to be honest with what I've seen and what I didn't like before we get on the stuff that I did like. So Eddie Howe decided to bring back Joe Linton, keep Lewis Miley in the midfield alongside Bruno. And I just thought we didn't really support Nick Valdemara, and he looked isolated throughout the 90 minutes. And to be perfectly honest, it made him anonymous. And the reason being, it was because it was so comfortable for their defenders to defend against him. They were just doubling up on him. And when we're giving no support in and around him, it's so difficult for him to get involved in the game. But even Anthony Gordon was acting like a touchline winger today, and I thought that impacted our dynamic because we did the opposite against Benfica and it worked. So I've got no idea why we changed it. So without andTonali in the side, you've got to have Bruno Miley giving us a little bit more control in the game, especially Bruno because he's more experienced. But we also need more mobile players. And when you've got Lewis Miley who likes to just anchor that midfield, Joe Linton who likes to pretty much anchor that left-hand side, it gives us no options in the final final third, and I often speak about providing options in the final third for your midfielders, your defenders, to give them an outlet, give them some respite. So our system was a little bit different today. Gordon wasn't as predictable as we're seeing against Benfica, and I continually spoke about the importance of either a left back when it's Lewis Hall or your left centre midfielder moving into wide areas to release Gordon inside, because it provides so much balance to our attack, but it also unbalances Fulham's defence. So that one bit of movement into the wide areas create space for Nick Waldemar to get on the ball, create space for Anthony Gordon to get on the ball. We did none of that today. If you watch Anthony Gordon today, he spent the majority of the game on the touchline, hogging the touchline, so he became more of a passenger in my opinion. But he also spent the majority of the game looking after Dan Burn. I know we don't have many options at left back, but when Lewis Hall's back, if I continue to see Dan Burn at left back, I am going to pull my mangoes out my head, because I feel sorry for the guy. He's not a left back, and it's really impacting the dynamics of the team. And this is exactly why I would have started Jacob Ramsey. I know we'll come away with 3 points, so it's hard to complain, but on a different day, we lose that game of football. Profiles and partnerships create a successful team. I just don't think it's right against a team like Fulham to start Joe Linton as a left centre midfielder when you've got Dan Burn at left back, because those profiles do not complement each other. Now, the reason why I think we struggled in the first half is because the dynamics of the team changed. Now, here's a graphic of all of our average positioning, and on the left-hand side, I've highlighted Jacob Murphy, and on the right-hand side, I've highlighted Anthony Gordon. So if you look in the middle, right, our right wingers tucking inside. That's very unusual for Newcastle United. You look at Jacob Murphy's heat map over the entire of last season, it looks more like Anthony Gordon's today. You look at Anthony Gordon's heat map over the entire of last season, looks like Jacob Murphy's today. So we kind of switched our left with our right side. While we had our right side took it inside, supporting Nick Waldemar and Anthony Gordon hogging the touchline. And I didn't understand why, because naturally Anthony Gordon wants to be the inverted winger because he's best coming in off his right-hand side, but he's also more of a goal threat when he's closer to goal than what Jacob Murphy is. I know Jacob Murphy scored today, but he also missed chances. Jacob Murphy's best when he's hogging the touchline because his delivery, his mentality of, can I feed my striker, is a lot more natural than Anthony Gordon's. So I just think that our overall chemistry on the pitch just didn't look natural. Then we went in at half-time, 1-0 up, and I thought we're quite fortunate to have the lead at half-time. And I thought to myself, Eddie Howe, please be proactive rather than reactive. You've got to change this, because Fulham was starting to get the ascendancy. It looked like they were the only guys looking to score. But Fulham's game plan was clear, and it's pretty much everybody's game plan whenever they play against Newcastle United. Target the left back, Dan Burn, because if you can get around him, he gets caught out of position very easily. And if you get pace around him, he's going to struggle. And that's why Traore probably started for Fulham. But the man that changed the game for Fulham is somebody I highlighted in my preview, and that is the Brazilian named Kevin. What a name for a Brazilian. So I'm going to be honest, I was not surprised to see him involved in Fulham's goal. And I'm going to be honest, judging by that first opening 10 minutes, Fulham deserved their goal. They were knocking the ball around beautifully. I actually think Fulham are a very, very good side. Organised, use the ball well. They get players forward. They're threatening in transitions. They're a very good side to watch. So today was always going to be a difficult game, a tough game, and a banana skin. It was a scrappy game in reality, but there was chances for both sides. But I thought when Kevin came on, he sparked a little bit of life into Fulham's attack. He was being brave in possession. He was trying to make things happen. And it was him that created their first goal. But Fulham's goal was definitely coming. And this is why I wanted Eddie Howe to be proactive rather than reactive. Again, I know we came out with 3 points, but on a different day, we wouldn't have. And if I'm being brutally honest, Newcastle are struggling to translate their Champions League performances into the Premier League. Today wasn't great. We got 3 points, and I'm so pleased we got 3 points, but we didn't look confident in possession. We upped our game in the last 15 minutes, and apart from that last 15 minutes, it looked like Fulham were going to go on to win the game. Then we just eventually sparked a bit of life into our team, and that was probably because of the substitutions. And I think where we were losing the game was in the midfield. We were losing that midfield battle because what did I say in my preview? Use their 2 midfielders as a pressing trigger. When their centre-backs have got the ball, let them have the ball. They're not going to punish you or hurt you from that area. As soon as it goes in the midfield, that's when you bite. go as a team. We were going as individuals, and Fulham were moving the ball around us. Now, we weren't very, very bad. Like I said at the beginning of the video, wasn't the worst Newcastle United performance I've ever seen, but it was a bit sluggish, sloppy is what I'm trying to say. Now, in the midfield, we were losing that battle. Now, I often say winning the midfield battle gives you 60% chance of winning the game. And I just thought we showed them a bit too much respect in that midfield. So it wasn't a surprise to see when andTonali comes on, our energy goes up. So at that time, Eddie Howe made a triple substitution. Sven Botman came off. It was forced because he was injured. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think it was Sven Botman's best performance in the black and white. I thought he was getting caught out of position too often. He wasn't concentrating enough. He was sloppy in possession. Very unusual for Sven Botman. He came off with an injury. Fabian Shaw came on. But I kind of feel like it was the two other substitutions that really changed the game a little bit. Thought Harvey Barnes coming on for Jacob Murphy was the right decision to make. And also andTonali coming on just to give us some energy, because if you haven't noticed already, andTonali does a lot of covering for us defensively. He moves in the right back position. He moves in the left back position. Today, because we didn't have a profile like andTonali, Anthony Gordon was a lot deeper than what he usually would be. So again, that's taken away our attacking threat. So by having Dan Burn at left back, Anthony Gordon is a little bit more cautious in his positioning, which is impacting his game on the ball. So a couple of things that just didn't feel right to me. Anthony Gordon wasn't coming inside, so Nick Valdemada was getting isolated. So whenever he got the ball, there was always two people around him, which is incredibly difficult in the Premier League. But also Anthony Gordon's positioning was a little bit deeper. So when we did win the ball back or overturn the ball, we didn't have players in advanced areas like we did against Benfica to punish the opposition. But I thought Harvey Barnes did well when he come on. He gave us an outlet. When he got on the ball, he was driving at players. Might not always come off, but he was giving it a go. And then Anthony Elanga came on. He also sparked and injected a bit of pace, a bit of energy into our side. And that game was crying out for a bit of pace and energy. That's why I was thinking in my head, bring someone on like Osula. It wasn't obvious. It was obviously not working with Nick Valdemada. Look, I love Nick Valdemada, but he will have games like this where the game's just not suited to his profile. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. We all know he's not a bad player. But today we needed Fulham running towards their own goal. For about 60 minutes of that 90 minutes, everything was played in front of Fulham. Made it easy for them to defend. Sometimes you've just got to put it in the corner. Make them face their own goal. No defender likes running towards their own goal. That is exactly what William Osula brought. When William Osula came on, I was thinking, if you score, my guy, William Osula, I'm so happy we didn't sell him, because when you think about his profile is excellent, powerful, pace, direct. He's fearless. He's strong. Stands over 6 foot. He protects the ball well. He's technically very good. He created that goal for us. And I honestly could not be happier for the guy. If there's one guy I want just to have an impact on the game, it's William Osula, because he hasn't been given many opportunities this season, but it feels like whenever he's given that opportunity, he takes it, and you have to give him credit for his attitude. So I want to finish up by talking about some individual performances. Now, I want to start with Nick Pope, because to be fair to him, look, he's not the best goalkeeper, probably the worst goalkeeper in the Premier League with the ball at his feet, but he keeps us in games. He does make some good saves, and he did today as well. So I want to give him his credit for that. When it comes to Dan Burn, I'm really beginning to feel sorry for him. He looks out his depth at left back. That's me being brutally honest. Sven Botman, I've already spoke about, wasn't at his best today, which is very unusual for Sven Botman, because he's normally very, very composed. But today, he looked flustered a little bit. I actually thought Malik Thiaw can hold his head up high. I thought he was good today. He was aggressive. He was stepping out to win the ball back. He was trying to initiate attacks. He was trying to make things happen. He was making crucial interceptions. And I actually thought he had a really good game today, as usual. I don't think he's put a foot wrong since he come into the side. For £35 million, what a signing he's been. When it comes to Anthony Gordon, look, in my opinion, he was ineffective after the opening 10 minutes. And I don't think that was because of attitude or desire. I just think the system didn't get the best out of him. And probably same for the midfield three. Thought we lost the battle in the midfield three and showed Fulham too much respect. When it comes to Nick Valdemada, I thought he was anonymous today, and I need to be honest, and I hate saying it, but we weren't playing to his strengths. Again, I don't think it was his fault. I don't think it was for desire or attitude or not willingness to get involved in the game. I just thought he couldn't get involved in the game because we didn't play to his strengths. But then I want to finish up talking about William Osula and Bruno, because I can't lie, every time William Osula comes on the pitch, I love his self-belief, I love his confidence, I love his energy. When he comes on, he makes an impact. This game was crying out for a profile like William Osula, a willing runner, somebody that will run the channels, somebody that will be a little bit more mobile, running behind, stretch a game, force Fulham into uncomfortable positions, which is exactly what we didn't do throughout the 90 minutes. So I was so pleased that that goal was down to William Osula, and I really hope that Eddie Howe starts to trust in him a little bit more. Look, he stepped up in crucial moments. Okay, he scored against Liverpool. It wasn't enough to get us over the line, but he still made an impact. He's now scored the winner against Fulham in a massive 3 points for Newcastle United. Scored 2 against Bradford. I would like to see him get more minutes, because his confidence and experience is exactly what William Osula needs. And do you know what? I want to speak about Bruno individually, because I actually thought out of our 3 midfielders, he was the best today. I thought he showed good appreciation on the ball. He won the ball back in crucial moments. He was working hard for the team. And now he's beginning to step up in crucial moments, gambling, anticipating where the ball's going to land. And you make sure you're there to make a difference. What a massive goal from Bruno. Look, it was a massive 3 points for Newcastle United, and I could not be happier. If you don't play well, firstly, make sure you don't lose a game, and we didn't. And secondly, if you can snatch a winner, boy, they taste so good. And do you know what that result does? Breeds confidence in our side, knowing that we can play midweek and still pick up a victory on the weekend. Because if we had dropped points today, psychologically, we would have thought after every Champions League game, oh, it's going to be tough on the weekend. But now we can pick up 3 points, even when we do look a little bit off. This win breeds confidence. It brings momentum, but it also makes winning become a habit. So look, that's enough about me. I want to hear your thoughts. I know I was slightly negative there. I wouldn't be true to myself if I was sitting here saying, oh, we were fantastic, we played amazingly, it was a brilliant 3 points, because I thought Fulham were unlucky not to come away with nothing. And that's the way I see it. But I'll take wins like this all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. But I want to hear your thoughts. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, away the lads.